because this seems to be more successful in communication. These materials are the main threat to human survival in this planet, in this world. These materials, and the way we build, we use material to build things. Second element of reflection in the way the planet is changing is here. The World Inequality Report, the last edition, is taking something very important for what I told you before, is the translation of complexity in simplicity. So I'm not going to explain why so, but a major result of this World Inequality Report is that inequality is a major driver of environmental, let's say, lack of environmental sustainability. So inequality feeds the environmental crisis. If it doesn't make sense this way, what I'm saying is, in the past we used to say sustainability, economic sustainability, social sustainability, environmental sustainability. And we have people like me who specialize in environmental sustainability. This world is fixed. The world that we are facing now is telling that there is no possibility of making an ecological city without making a justice. And it's not an ethical problem, it's also an ethical problem. We all agree, we were discussing with the Jesus that there is an ethical level, and this is as important. But we are talking about simply about the fact that lack of justice led to an increase of the climate crisis. And it's the same simple message, because of course if we discuss why, there is a long, it will take over 45 minutes that we have to tell this. So this is for me, this is the background noise. What we are doing is not enough. This book is for me is the point of arrival of several reflections. Because as you can imagine, if I really believe that this is the situation, I also have to admit some. Here, number one, as an architect, I'm responsible for that situation. Number two, as an educator, what is my mission now? My mission is to do, let's say, define education as education has been defined for many years. Transfer knowledge. Or something else. I believe it's something else. And I'm lucky enough to be an architect, which helped me to say that even though, as I said before, talking an Italian movie, I'm the dancer here, and I was telling to some of you the past days. So how can I come to you and tell you, okay, this is what you have to learn from me, if I say I'm part of this phenomenon. Also because this phenomenon is very concentrated in the last 100 years. But what I do is another thing. Is trying to understand what is creativity, because my role as an educator is to try to inject inspiration for you to be the creative person, and let's say those who are able to develop ideas. So I'm admitting the fact that I will not be able to do this. 2 years ago we did the presentation, let's say, we presented this idea very extreme in the Venice Biennale. Leslie Lotto was the curator, awarded our project. The project was titled Student as Researcher, and the rationale of this collateral event was exactly what they wanted to do. So in a way there is a general understanding that something like this is important. But for me as an Italian, it's also important to state that something like this already happened. Or let's say, accept that this is part of my humanistic background. Or am I also alma mater, which is the University of Florence. 1340, we have one, let's say, we use this to call the major spread of red death in Europe. And we call the 14th century, the century of the crisis. What we didn't focus enough until now, history also is changing, is that in this period, a big climate change led crises are being overcome thanks to a new generation on some traditional, yes, some armies, yes, but mainly because of the new generation of them. This is a renaissance. And we call these creative people polygraphs because they approach arts and science and technology as if they were one single thing. And they approach this from a multidisciplinary perspective. And then it gives me the answer to my question, what is my role? And the pedagogic project, which is part of the book, is called the Verrocchio project. It doesn't mean that if I think that I have responsibility, I don't have ambition. My ambition is becoming Verrocchio, created Verrocchio, not Bernardo da Vinci. For those who don't know, Bernardo Verrocchio was the person who built a lab, very disorganized, very confusing, but was welcoming people that had tangential educational experiences that were not fitting perfectly, not always fitting perfectly. And one of them, as you know, is called Leonardo da Vinci. In simple words, what I'm saying is there is only one solution. This solution is called creativity. It's not science in the right sense. The solution for that problem is creativity. And this book is about this. And when I say creativity, I'm not talking about a term that I'm using as an architect. Let's say philosophical term or something that belongs to the disciplines of art and creativity. I'm using a term, in this case, let's say, scientific term. This comes from evolutionary biology. Creativity is the main instrument that natural selection uses to, let's say, to enforce adaptability. And this book is talking about this, what is creativity and what we can learn from evolutionary biology in order to understand how we can interpret design today. For me, this book, again, has been an opportunity also to meet and work with Telmo Pievani. Telmo Pievani is one of the most representative evolutionary biologists in Italy. And even more, is a fellow of, is a student of Stephen Jay Gould, a crucial, let's say, pivotal researcher in this field. How much is this relevant to architecture today? It's relevant in different ways. First, certification. Who, if we are not the best example of successful designer, who is the most successful designer on this planet now? The answer of this book is nature. It's the best and successful designer. When I say nature, I don't think about something nostalgic or romantic or regarding the green. I'm talking about evolutionary biology, the system of design of the nature. This is the mechanism of design of the nature. Exaltation is a system, a mechanism of creativity of the nature that has been proved to be successful for the survival of organisms on this planet. And the scope of this book is what if we use this, what we learn from this great designer to enrich the way we think of design today. But there is another aspect that is kind of interesting to me. When Stephen Jay Gould and Hamilton, they have explained to people what is exaltation. They found the same difficulties that I was mentioning now. How to something which is very complex. And the response is, let's use a metaphor. And this metaphor is, let's use architecture, let's use design. So it's a kind of interesting story to me that without us architects knowing this, in evolutionary biology, the major revolution, taxonomical revolution that took place in biology in the past 20 years, but it's considered probably the most relevant revolution after the origin of the species was so complex that the biologists have to use architecture to explain this. And as architects, we are not educated to know this point. So exaptation means that there is a possibility to use everything in nature and code function for a new thing. This is what we have to do. Nature works in economics. It doesn't create new shapes, it transforms shapes. And differently from what we think in design, functionality is not the main thing. Functionality is a consequence of the form, it's not vice versa. So in simple words, what I'm telling you is that the biggest lesson that I learned from is from them about evolutionary biology as a designer. What I learned is that the possibilities are larger than reality. This is a concept of biology, but I think that it's a concept that in architecture, design, we don't use. We think exactly the opposite terms, but it's fundamental. If the possibilities are larger than realities, exaptation is telling us that the function will follow the form and not vice versa. So pure art is the best way to design, to increase the possibilities. This of course needs an explanation, but all this revolution happened thanks to the scientists that have done the section of biodiversity in the American Natural History Museum in New York, which is this one. And I like this photograph because this is a photograph that it's not about architecture, but it is about architecture. This is about design, the diversity of the shape. I don't see any, I like the misunderstanding, but I don't see anything that resembles the idea how architecture is taught. The possibility, this is just a small part of what is called the morphospace, is much larger than reality. So there are two concepts, the main concept in exaltation, which are very important. Functional shift, natural selection houses a structural function different from the original one, and functional cooptation from an adaptation, which means that things, nature creates many things, and these things are they have very specific characteristics. They are variable, diverse, and redundant. Cooptation depends on the exuberance of this form. It don't depend on the rational function of the if it makes sense. And these are examples of elements of our survival that depended on these factors. Just to make an example, the skull of the human is done in this way, and we know that these coronal suture, we then this, okay, these are done because when it beard, there is a need of very elastic structure. So this is the function. But how can we explain that these coronal sutures are also present in the skull of the birds, which are precedence region? The reason is because this is a form of redundancy that nature has created. What I'm trying to say is that, in simple words, we see architecture like this, but we should start seeing architecture like this. And what you see here is not about architecture, it's about how we saw evolutionary biology before and how we should see today. This creates, let's say, this led to another question. Because the reality is, and we know how much the world of evolutionary biology, as we knew this before the revolution was mentioned before, has been important and impactful for what we might call the everyday life. What I'm trying to say is how much this idea of evolution has influenced not only biology, but everything that we see in the world. How much this view has informed also architecture? Let's make again a simplification. What if I tell you that here we have primitive art, and then we have, I don't know, the city of Uruk. And then here we have the modern city. How many of us really think that way? But is this reality? And how this reality can be understood in the context where the possible is larger than the real? And what Astelmo Giovanni used to say, tell me, the problem is that our books are so old-fashioned that we are still teaching this way. And I'm sure that if I ask to make a clue, we still think in that way. But this is not reality, because probably it's also absolutely that way there will change. But this is reality. There is not a species like this. And we are somewhere here, but we have been living together with other species. And the gorilla is not here. He's somewhere here. It's the same level of survival. This is because we have assumed that intelligence, spatial awareness, and so on. But this is not a philosophical discussion at the moment. This is just a taxonomical discussion. What if I tell you that the world of architecture is not this, but it's like this? And if it's like this, what is happening here? Where is the hut? Where is the high rise? Because this drawing is still affected by the idea that we are trying to find a direction. But in reality, the direction is not there. The example that we used to do is here, for instance. If you watch this kind, this is a human and this is a chimp hand. We see, and if I ask you, probably this is a matter of design, so it's about design. Nature is the design. 90% of us will say this is more primitive than this, because we see the world in that way. What if I tell you, what about this? And you notice that these two lands are more similar than these two. What is happening there? This is a hand of a gorilla, this is a human, this is a sheep. There is a reality, and we know this only because 20 years ago we have been able to trace the segments of the human genome and the other species. This is because we know today that this hand is more evolved than ours. Can you believe it? So we know something, and then what science is telling us is that our hand is more primitive than one of the sheep. And the reason is because gorilla is closer to our common ancestral, let's say, primate. And there is a story here, but we have no time. So what I'm saying is, I try to be as short as possible, but this is what I'm trying to say. So there is a circularity that we do transfer to architecture as well. It's not said, and the agreement is that this type of architecture, in that cultural, in that technological, and in that environmental context, might be not only as valuable as high-rise, but potentially could be more advanced. So the idea the brain should work in a different way. We should interpret the thing in a different way. This is also helpful to understand, because we think that there is a functionality here, integristic functionality, but then you go back in time and you realize that the 3D have never been built for functional system, for functional reasons. This is a span. And then, just to make an example that in some way is so extensively disrupting the idea of continuity, I would like to talk about probability tech. It's a discovery in the 1990s, but only recently we had the chance to examine the materials, how much answers materials are. Okay.